Welcome back, everybody. It is the Squatchers Lounge podcast here live Wednesday nights, roughly around 8 p.m. That's right. Yeah, we'll get there eventually. We're still shooting from the hip with StreamYard, but it seems to be doing okay for now. So we are back at it once again. That's right. Tonight we've got a couple of more Bigfoot tracks coming out of Bull Mountain, Georgia from the year 2011. Some BFRO information, a Bigfoot Campfire Story, a brand new Camping Tips for Stupids, and a Quasi Rewind. So we have a full show for you tonight. Let's go ahead and take a look and get a little newsy at it. That's right. Man, stupid pop-ups. You know, pop-ups were a thing, and now they're a thing again. Imagine that. Missing for 30 years, a rare deer species is rediscovered in Vietnam. That's right. The silverback chevrotain has been seen alive until now. In southern Vietnam, an unusual house cat-sized deer relative has escaped the efforts of wildlife biologists, while local lore suggested it was still around. Attempts to find one alive had failed, and even a dead specimen hadn't been seen in 30 years. But in research reported today in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution, the borderline apocryphal silverback chevrotain, or Vietnam mouse deer, has been spotted in the wild. But due to the prevalence of snare hunting in the area, basically wire traps described by CNN report as barbaric, the paper's authors are being tight-lipped as to where. Well, of course we don't want a snare trap there, please, poor guys. We would probably want to get rid of the predators that eat them, but hey, that's just my opinion. What would I know anything about? Moving right along here, the best view of Lake Tahoe, the breathtaking hike to Monkey Rock. I didn't even know Monkey Rock existed, but apparently there it is, Monkey Rock. Tahoe's Monkey Rock overlooks the lake, and look at that scenery. I haven't been there, but someday I might have to have somebody go there and take pictures for me, because I don't know if my hiking days are ever going to come back again. But if you're up near Tahoe and you're in for a visit, well, you could check out the hike to Monkey Rock overlooking the reservoir there. That's right. ActiveNorcal.com. Evidence of a human-like Neanderthal breeding hybrids found in an Israeli cave. That's right. We talked about caves, eDNA, and all the types of things that are going to come out of that. Well, long before the patriarchs and matriarchs, early men and women were living in Israel, newly unearthed relics reveal that some of these people may have traveled a great distance before settling there, and some of them weren't exactly 100% human. Teeth found in the Manat Cave in western Galilee shows features of both Homo sapiens and Neanderthal chompers. Their age is up to 38,000 years old. Hint at how the Stone Age's most esteemed cave painters may have landed in the Levant. The presence of these teeth, studied by the team of researchers from Israel, Austria, and the United States, point to hybrid populations. Neanderthals are believed to have been long extinct in the region by the time of the teeth dating, but judging by the nature of the tools found within the cave, resembling a European culture of craftsmanship, it appears that these human Neanderthal mixes are descended from interbreeding that originally occurred in Europe. That's right. It's always the dirty Europeans. Sorry. All right, moving right along here. Standing tall. That's right. The scientists find the oldest example of an upright ape. Not exactly a Homo sapien, not exactly a Homo species, but it is a forward-hipped, moving, upright, walking ape. The remains of the ancient ape found in a Bavarian clay pit. That's right. Suggests that humans' ancestors began standing upright millions of years earlier than previously thought, scientists said on Wednesday. An international team of researchers say the fossilized partial skeleton of a male ape that lived almost 12 million years ago in the humid forests of what is now southern Germany bears a striking resemblance to the modern human bones. In a paper published in the journal Nature, they concluded that previously unknown species named Danovius gugalamugli. Guggen, Goonie Goo Goo. Yeah, Goo Goo Moosey. Guggen Moosey? Yeah, something like that. Could walk on two legs, but also climb like an ape. The findings raise fundamental questions about our previous understandings of the evolution of great apes and humans. That's right. So remember, people, you are what you eat. Don't eat your cousins. To kill or to capture a Bigfoot, the great cryptological zoological debate. Yeah, shooting pictures of it and taking video of it is going to do absolutely nothing to further science. It's just not. Shooting it, getting some blood samples and tissue samples ends the debate. I don't know what the debate really is, but apparently, would you need a heavy-duty rifle? Of course you would need a heavy-duty rifle, says Jim Lansdale, co-founder of the Gulf Coast BCGB. God damn it. Sounds like the... Oh, man. There's too many letters in this, y'all. GCBRO. I would suggest a 30-06 or better. Yeah, you better get something a little bigger, 30-06, pal. How about a 300 Winchester mag to start? Anyhow, yeah, they're it's all about putting the big foot down for the GCBRO, and who can blame them? I mean, like I said, when it comes down to it, it absolutely ends the debate. Gizmodo.com, of course. Here we go. Expedition Bigfoot, the channel sets series to premiere dates. Apparently, an 8-part investigation adventure series, Expedition Bigfoot, will premiere December 8th at 10 p.m. with a colorful quintet of researchers and advanced algorithm as their guide. How does math help you find Bigfoot? Wait, I read this before. I ain't see that. Bryce Johnson, Expedition Operations, Dr. Alex, can we have a harder name to pronounce as a first name in a TV show, please? Myria? I don't know. Primatologist Russell Accord, the only person I actually know from the Bigfoot world, and Ronnie LeBlanc. Okay. And Ryan RPG Golemsbeck, Bigfoot investigators, seek out the legendary beast of the Pacific Northwest. Apparently, there's some controversy. They say that they have earth-shattering evidence that's never been shared with the world before. And Matt Moneymaker, he perked up and took issue with it and wanted to know if the evidence was faked for the TV show or, Moneymaker, of all people, wanted to know if things were being faked for a TV show. Color him jealous, but it looks like he's getting another TV show as well. God help us. I don't know, guys. This is one of those weird times when everything Bigfoot is back again, and they're just like reaching for the unknowns to get anybody new on TV, because everybody who's dealt with Bigfoot on TV knows that y'all suck. The production companies suck. There's no money in it to be discussed. Nobody really has any money to put any kind of an expedition together. And anytime they do, they have to involve, Mr. Supporter of Todd Standing, the good doctor has to be involved, and then he gets the lion's share of whatever funds there actually are. It's hooey. Who cares? Go camping, look for Bigfoot, find some tracks, put up a cam. Let's all get lucky. All right, there we go. That concludes the news for this week. Boy, y'all wait till next year. Seriously. Next season, yeah, we're going to talk about next season, because seriously, it is about time that somebody takes on some things around here, and I'm probably gonna be that guy. If you like what we do around here, that's right, you can go on over to patreon.com/cryptic corner and sign up. $1 gets you general admission for everything gets put up there, and I put them up in clusters. There will be some more going up this week as well. Patreon.com/cryptic corner. All right. That gets us out of the news and the self-promotion crud, and we'll get out of that. Hello, everybody. I do actually exist tonight. I do have a camera, and it is actually working. One of the last things I wanted to talk about tonight during the news segment, just today, I received my copy of The Essential Guide to Bigfoot by Ken Gerard. And I got to tell you, I appreciate it, man. You can get a hold of him. He'll even set you up with an autographed copy of your very own shipped to you. You can find him on Facebook. You get a hold of me, I'd be glad to get you in contact with him. I believe it is available on Amazon unsigned. I have not actually had a chance to peruse through it, like literally, like I got it in my hands at 6:00 this evening. I did get to manage to read the foreword by Peter Byrne. And, that in itself is worth the purchase price of it. There's a lot of really good information in here. There's a lot of, it is sans the woo, woo woo. Oh, speaking of woo woo. So anyhow, yeah, the Essential Guide to Bigfoot. I'd say get yourself a copy of it. It's 230 some pages and some reference material inside of it, and some great illustrations by people in the community and witnesses and stories. And really, in the end, it's gonna be a great read. I'm just haven't quite gotten to it to be able to read through it yet. And now, well, yeah, there's that. So, hey.
Joan, get me a Snapple.
That's right. Get me a Snapple, Joan. Hey, this is the part where we do some crazy stuff. So I'm actually going to put that other stuff back up there again, because that's the only way I can kind of screen share without the sound going crazy, and give y'all a quasi theory of the week. So here you go. The wee folk. And now, quasi theories from a quasi scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
We see the wee folk, and they ain't that wee. Way back in high school, some friends and I went to hang out at a coffee house that was only open on Saturday nights. They always had one local folk singer or another performing. It was in the basement of a convent, which isn't really relevant. A few hours after we got there, one of us went out for a bit of fresh air. A few minutes later, he came rushing back in, all oddly excited and perturbed. He said we had to go out and back where the parking lot was and look at the trees at the back edge of the property. He wouldn't tell us what we were going to look at. He just wanted to see what we thought was going on. There was a good singer wailing away on his guitar, so we said no. A friend sat down and fidgeted until the song was done and then compelled us to go outside. It was dark. There was no moon up. It was summer, but no special day. We got to the back edge where there were some trees. We all stood there quietly looking at the trees because a friend said that was where he saw it. It looked like a very dark grove of trees. Gradually, though, the scene changed. Just past the trees, you could see a meadow with a pond in it. The area was lit up as though the moon was full and high. Wisps of fog drifted about. You could hear music playing, a bit like bagpipes, but much sweeter and more enchanting. A drummer was playing, a medium quick beat, sounding a bit like an Irish bodhrán. A few minutes later, next to the pond, a circle of dancers appeared, not fully visible, but like a misty, foggy circle of dancers, dancing in long, diaphanous robes. The dancers in robes were indistinct, but had the glowing blue-white color of the full moon. They appeared taller than us and slender. We watched, gobsmacked, speechless, for maybe 5 minutes. I then started to walk down toward the dancers. Suddenly, a fear began to rise up in us. It felt like something off to the right of us, in very dense woods, just noticed us being able to see the dancers and was very, very pissed off about it. We turned tail and ran to the car, jumped in and hauled ass out of there. For several miles, it felt like something very tall and dark was watching from the convent grounds, looming towards us, making unclear but very dire threats as to what would happen should we come back. Now, we had only ever gone to the coffee shop after dark, so we never had really seen what the property behind the convent looked like. A few weeks later, three of us convinced each other to go have a look at the forest and pond in broad daylight. There was no pond. There was a narrow thicket of trees and then a farmer's field. There was no dense forest off to the right, where the guardian of the fairy dance had stood guard. This has been Dean Cooper, quasi-scientist, enlightening you with my quasi-theory of the week, only this time it isn't a theory. You may read the text of this on my blog at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com.
That's right, bydean.com. Well, just like that. That's right. We are on to a Camping Tips for Stupids by the one and only camping channel of Gone Camping and the mind of Mr. Jevin Moore. That's right. So here we go.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 83. Bathroom etiquette. A customary code of polite behavior in society or among members of a particular profession or group. While plopping a log in a porcelain pond. While casting brown thunder into the thunder bucket. While... Alright, you get the point. Here now are some do's and some don'ts of using bathrooms at the campgrounds. Do walk in quietly and respect people's privacy. Don't waddle inside wearing a damn bear costume. Do, using the toilet, be as quiet with your deucing as possible. Don't put on a glove of a monster hand and reach under the stall and ask in a monster voice, "Can I get a roll?" Do remember to flush and leave only footprints when using the toilet. Don't leave clear plastic wrap over the bowl for others to discover. Do wash your hands with soap and hot water when done. Don't mistake the sinks for Japanese toilets, because they're not.
Dear God.
This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
Spay and neuter your idiot population. Well then, there you have it, folks. Right there. I love you, Jevin. I really do, man. My life is better with you in it. All right, so we're gonna bust up here and give y'all some shout outs. Let's see who's hanging out with us live in the hangout tonight. I see there's Mr. Shane Barber's in the house with us tonight. Hello there, Shane Barber. Dean Cooper, of course, the quasi theorist himself. He's out there swinging that tool around, so y'all be careful. He's not afraid to use it. Mr. Fang, 333. Hey man, how you doing? There's Miss Bella Allegria. Glad you were with us tonight. And there's Lance Windsor. That's right. Giggity, giggity. Glad you're with us tonight, buddy. There's Aaron Duncan. A gold-minded person just like myself. There's the Viking, Don Rife. How you doing, buddy? Dave Jackson. That's right. Stumbles in. Dave. You know, like on Cheers. Keith Harden. There he is. Glad you're back with us. I see that Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be. That's right. I showed him. We got up to the Bear River this week and actually swung the metal detector. I found something. It wasn't gold, but I did find metal at the river's edge. So I'm on the board. There we go. Chris Cullinan is back with us as well. How you doing, Chris? Glad you're with us, buddy. Natalie Smith, there she is. Glad you're feeling well enough to hang out with us. Hey, everybody, go out and check out the Brown Dwarfs channel. He has got Bigfoot like 24/7 going on up there on the farm, man. Don't miss out. Karen Robb, there she is. Hey, glad you're with us. The Reverend Matthew Gaines, there he is. That's right. I do forget to put the Reverend in front of Dean Cooper because, you know, he doesn't have it in his YouTube name, but he is actually a Reverend, if I believe right. Team Dinobots. That's right. We are glad you are back. All right. SoCal Forest Ninjas. That's right. The SRG back in the house, hanging out, listening about Bigfoot. The Sam Squanch Rivera's in the house. Hey, Sam Squanch. Sam Squanch. Damn Sam Squanch. That fucking Sam Squanch. I swear to God. The Squatching Cowboy. Dun, 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 dun. Well, I'm glad you're with us. You haven't missed the main topic tonight. That's kind of why I do this. Let's see here. Who else is hanging out with us tonight? We got some more people in here, I am sure. There's Tim McCune. So glad you're with us, buddy. There's the Mr. Kent. How you doing, pal? Yeah. Let's see. Obsidian Radio's checking in as well. We're moving on down the line to your Hobo Man 5. There's the man, the myth, the legend. All right, moving on up to the east side to a deluxe apartment. I'm sure that's copyrighted, but I don't care anymore since YouTube stripped me of all of my monetization like almost a year ago. It's been ridiculous. Eric Wright, hey, glad you're back. And I'm so glad to hang out with everybody tonight. I'm getting down to the bottom here. If you haven't said hi to me, I can't say hi to you because I don't know you're here. I'm not sure I said hi to Keith Harden, so I want to make sure that I do. Hi, Keith. Chris Spencer, there from the Toutle River Valley Skookum, is checking in as well. So, hey, everybody, glad you're with us, and I am glad to be here live tonight. All right, so let's get into it and talk about what we're talking about. There's Jevin. He finally getting himself together. Say hi to my son, Sean. I'm sure he'll check it out later. There is the Flash It. Hey, Flash it. Glass, you're back with us as well. All right, we're going to move on up. Kimberly Smith Rutledge, I'm glad you are there as well. Okay. So tonight we're talking about, that's right, we're going back out to Cliff Barackman because he has some of the greatest track information on the planet. If you don't know about this site, cliffbarackman.com has all kinds of really, really interesting, most likely real Bigfoot stuff on it, page after page after page. Now, this particular one, there's two sets of these that we're going to talk about tonight, which is kind of interesting. The first set came from the year 2011, January 22nd, in Dahlonega County. This is Georgia, mind you. Up on Bull Mountain. It was found by Jeff Allison, documented by Jeff Allison. The link was 14 inches by 5 inches wide. And that's what we talk about. It's nearly half as wide as it is twice as long. The witness was making his way to a duck hunting spot on Bull Mountain, Georgia. He said he and his buddy hiked in the back way across the country, making their way to a hiking trail. When they arrived at the trail, they soon noticed peculiar footprints in the thawing ground. At first, Jeff thought that somebody was playing a trick on him. Laughing, he took a couple of photographs of the prints with his cell, and he started following the prints to see where they led. The more Jeff saw of them, the more he considered that they were not left for his discovery. After all, he had not seen anywhere else in that area that day, and the location was chosen for its distinct lack of visitors. Also of note was the daytime temperatures that day hovered in the low 30s until mid-afternoon. Whoever left these prints was clearly barefoot. Upon looking closer at the prints, Jeff noticed that what he described as fingerprints in them, more commonly known as dermatoglyphics. Hey, I think I said that right. These minute skin details are only found on primates, and they're used to increase friction in our hands and feet for brachiation and grasping objects. This observation also negates the possibility of the impressions being left by a person wearing Vibram footwear. The excellent condition in which the prints were found indicated to Jeff's experienced eye that they were within minutes to perhaps a couple of hours old. Though the photographs have no scale item, Jeff noted that he could fit his entire boot on the inside of the prints without overlapping the edge. When I had found the chance to later measure Jeff's boots, indicated that the footprints were somewhere in the vicinity of 13.5 to 14 inches long. Being a hunter, Jeff followed the footprints for a ways, but he found was that the creature would walk up hills for perhaps 30 or 40 feet, then double back for 7 or 8 steps, then continue further uphill. Interpreted the behavior as if it was worried about something and unsure of the direction to take. We speculate that perhaps the creature heard Jeff and his partner making their ways towards it from the ravine below, though this is far from certain. But if you take a look at the of these particular pictures, they look pretty impressive to me. I would have cast them for sure. That would have definitely have been something that I would have wanted to take a cast of and look at more particularly later on. Unfortunately, we don't have great pictures. We don't have enlargements of them to be able to look at them completely accurately. However, what we do have is a follow-up. In February of the same year in Georgia, right on the same mountain, these two particular casts, and these were found by the great man Tyler Bounds. Now, if you don't know who Tyler Bounds is, Tyler Bounds was the videographer who followed most of the fellows around on finding Bigfoot on their solo investigations. He's a legit Bigfooter. He is a hardcore off-grid man. He is he's a fellow that just, I've always been impressed with the amount of effort that he puts into doing what he does, and I'd like to see his future be bright, that's for sure. Anyhow, they were documented, but of course by Cliff Barackman, the cast number 2, and these of course were 14.5 inches long or so. Again, 5.5, 5.25 to 5.5 inches wide, and the step length was nearly 3.5 feet. Now, this cast was made while shooting an episode of Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot. The prints were discovered while on an on-site investigation of footprints found several weeks before at this location. Those prints can be viewed by the ones we just talked about. So, the following notes are made by Cliff regarding the track's discovery. On February 16th, 2011, just 3.5 weeks after the initial footprint find, Renee Holland and I met up with Jeff for an interview. He took us and the production team to the location. Though we hiked in the easy way, which was still a mile or more of creek bottom travel, with us was Bigfooting production assistant and friend of the Squatch, Tyler Bounds. He served us with scouting the area and keeping his eyes out for Bigfooty things that the production crew wouldn't recognize, and I wouldn't have time to notice since I was in front of the camera so much. On the hike in, Tyler was ahead of us and far off trail, and he radioed in that he heard 3 knocks from one of the mountainsides above the creek valley we were hiking through. They were soon answered by another from the opposite side of the narrow valley. Enthused, I slowed my walk to hear more of the surrounding forest noise, and we were filming very much on the walk in, so I had a chance to keep my distance from the cameras. I used this time for listening and also asked Jeff questions about his experience. As we pushed further up the valley, I also heard knocks from the same valley wall. They were loud and clear and soon answered from the opposite side of the ravine. I alerted the cameramen to keep their eyes open. Bigfoots were likely nearby. As we arrived at the location, not far from an excellent marsh where there were plenty of ducks, this was a key aspect to finding Bigfoots. Look where there is look for a large supply of protein. A local Sasquatch were more likely than using the waterfowl as their primary food source item in the area. While we were filming the scene near the place Jeff found the prints, Tyler ran up, pale and winded. I immediately knew something was up from the look on his face. It turns out he found footprints nearby, and they reportedly showed toes. We finished the scene and were shooting, and Tyler told the general area where they were found, but not their exact location, so the production team could film the authentic discovery moment. The location was in the runoff at a turn in the trail. Water would run downhill into the location and spill out into the spot before going over the edge into a ravine and soaked into the ground. And that is why they left those tracks there. I put great care into documenting these footprints from the moment of their discovery until we removed the casts from the ground. At least 4 hours had passed. The amount of care should always be taken with casts. Footprints are among the rarest of evidence for Sasquatch, and it's very possible that these prints represent the spore left by the species. To my knowledge, there are 3 Bigfoot casts from the Georgia, the Elkins Creek cast and these 2. So, that's one of the things that I talk about when we go out camping with the public and we do these camp outs. Making a cast is not something you want to rush through the process of doing. You really want to slow down, and you really want to make sure that you take your time and you do it. We've talked about the process on the show several times. Plaster of Paris is just fine. It just takes a little bit of time to dry. So, if you mix up your plaster of Paris like pancake syrup, it's literally going to take 6, 7, 8 hours to dry. You're going to need something to cover up that track with, mark it so you can find it later, and then come back to it without disturbing it, because nobody's going to sit there and watch a cast dry for 8 hours. So cardboard boxes that are 20 inches by 8 inches wide is usually a good thing to keep around. The fluorescent tape, so that you can mark a location or mark a pathway that you'd be able to find the location of your tracks later on. Those are all things that are going to be important to add into your kit. I know the hikers out there, the backpack guys, they don't really want to, they carry around a tent that weighs 3 pounds. They really don't want to add a pound of plaster to their backpacking kit. But if you want to be able to document Bigfoot tracks, it certainly is a necessity. All right. So following that up tonight, we've got one interesting media article here from Lumpkin County, Georgia. That's right. From the Dahlonega Nugget. Although it's not written in stone, Animal Planet is making plans to visit the Lumpkin Union counties, the stalking legend of Bigfoot, and this is directly surrounding these trackways that were found. The Discovery Channel, which produces Animal Planet, called local resident Mary Scott, requesting an interview with her. Scott was, as well as a Lumpkin County Sheriff's Office deputy to whom she was riding during a Citizens Law Enforcement Academy ride-along, reportedly saw a Bigfoot about a year and a half ago and captured it on dashboard camera. Isn't that weird? That fake thing with the freaking high school kids, and is what drew them there to the area, but that's not actually what it was. That's kind of crazy. Anyhow, we were going about 55 miles an hour on a Kirby road. It was really late after midnight. I think we hadn't passed any other cars, and this thing came out of nowhere. Scott says the officer hit the brakes, and we both jumped out, looked on both sides of the roads, but didn't see anything. And we looked at each other kind of like, you saw that, didn't you? Realizing that the event had been recorded by the patrol car's dash cam, Scott and the officer returned to the sheriff's office where they viewed the happening on a larger screen. We were both just shocked, Scott says. It was really tall, and it really looked like the pictures you've seen of Bigfoot. The film found its way onto the internet, and that's how Discovery Channel tracked down Scott. He says, I told them it all happened in seconds, and it just came and went, she says. The TV representative told Scott that they're planning to visit the area in February and planning to camp out in the area where she and the deputy made the sighting. So there you have it, folks. All the things wrapped up, all in those same types of tracks. January 26th, 2011. Isn't that interesting? All comes round once more. And with that, my friends, it is 8:38, and we're going to wrap up this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast with another Bigfoot Campfire Story. Give a quick look out here and make sure there's Frank Smith. Hey, buddy, glad you are back in seeing us tonight as well. Make sure we didn't miss anybody else up here. Looks like we got everybody else in the house. So glad you guys came out and joined us tonight. Come see us again next week. We'll be talking about things. Oh, yeah, I guess I should, before I finish this out with this Bigfoot Campfire Story. Let me just say, for those of you guys out there who keep sending me the links to this Learn to Hunt or Hunt to Will or Will to Hunt or whoever this schmuck is, he's supporting the woo-woo, and he's giving everybody with a woo story the ability to listen to his 12,000 subscribers and his millions of views, and he's jumping on the woo bandwagon because people like me just pound on these people and don't give them a chance. Yeah, if it's outside of the realm of physics, I'm not interested. You're supporting things like Zorth, the 24,998 tree people, and the rubbing of crotches to heal medical wounds. Yeah, we don't believe any of it. If you'd like to come on my show and debate with me there, Mr. Learn to Hunt or Will to Hunt or whatever the hell your name is, just go ahead and send me a message. I'm not hard to find. I'd be glad to sit down and talk to you about why we don't give the woo one single second of our time. And with that, everybody, thanks everybody for being here. Get yourself a copy of The Essential Guide to Bigfoot by Ken Gerard. I believe it's going to be one of those Bigfoot books to probably have in your collection. And we will see everybody right here next week. Enjoy this Bigfoot Campfire Story. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Well, this story was told to me by a fellow named Travis. Now, Travis was a lifelong deep trail camper, as he liked to fish in places that were tough to get to in the mountains of western Virginia. After a week at his location, a strange visitor showed up. Well, let's just say it got a little hairy. Let's hear his story. I had scheduled a trip up to the Shenandoah River State Park to fish for a couple of weeks, and, well, as usual, my fishing partner backed out at the last minute, so I was on my own once again. I traveled up to the park by car, and I left it in the parking area and packed in the 5 miles to my campsite. After setting up camp, I had set off to find that deep pool that contained dinner. After an hour of searching, I located what seemed to be a quiet spot to catch some nice rainbow to smoke on the fire for later on. And sure enough, 30 minutes later, I had 2 nice fish in the basket. So I went ahead and gutted and cleaned them right there and headed back to camp. When I got back to camp, I set a small fire going and set the fish in some tin foil with some lemon and some garlic and some thyme and set the pockets on the fire to cook. I had walked back to the trail to relieve myself when I noticed what first seemed like some odd markings on a couple of the trees. It was as if someone had stood there and beat the crap out of the trunk of a tree with a baseball bat. The bark was all depressed into it and pushed into the meat of the trees as if something had used that spot over and over again. Even the base of the tree was beaten down as the soil around it was compacted, as something heavy had stomped all around it on a regular basis. Strange, to say the least. A couple of days later, on my way back to camp, I found a big old log that somehow found its way across the path that led back to my camp. I just traveled that way yesterday on the way back, and it was clear of anything of this size. Took a look around, and I couldn't find any place where this log had come from. It was as if something or someone had carried it into that location and put it in my way. Yet another odd occurrence happened that night when I turned in for some sleep. About 2 a.m, I was awoken to what sounded like breathing outside of my tent. I must admit, I was disturbed at first, but I spoke softly as not to scare whatever it was. I slowly unzipped my tent, and then a loud knock rang out directly from that location I'd found a couple of days before. I ducked my head back inside the tent, and I sat there till morning, pretty unnerved. As soon as the sun was up enough to see, I got out of the tent and began to collect my thoughts about what happened. Now, I have no idea what can knock on a tree that way, but that isn't anything that I've experienced before. I decided that had been just about as much excitement at night as I could stand. I decided to pack up camp and head back out to the car. An hour later, I was walking along the trail when something hit the back of my pack. I needed a break anyhow, so I took it down and sat down for a rest when I noticed it was a rock. That's what hit my pack. Someone or something just threw a rock at me. I gathered up my pack and started to head on my way, and just then another rock was slung at my position. And another, and another. Well, at that point, I was pretty much ran all the way back out towards the car. Finally, after 45 minutes of being paralleled and having rocks thrown at me, I finally reached the parking area where my lone car awaited. I tossed my pack in the car, and I drove out of the area as quickly as my little Prius could go. I have no idea what it was that week, but I'll bet I really won't like the answer. Travis had a run-in with something with fingers, and at least that's what it takes to knock on trees and throw rocks. I'll bet he looks at camping differently now. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff. And may the Squatch be with you.